Hey everyone, welcome to the video. Going over my cheat sheet for the running back position for week 1 of the NFL season. Now we are 2 weeks away from the start of it, so things could change a little bit, but as of right now, this is what I am looking at. Anyway, before we continue, if you could leave a like, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of my new videos, I'd really appreciate that. You can follow me on Twitter at ChrisPlanell16. And if you'd like access to my entire NFL sheet, I've been working on it all summer. I'm pretty excited how it turned out. It's available in the link in the description below. And I'm going to have rankings on there, projections, and some other stuff for Patreon members only. So very excited to get into that. Now we'll show you a little preview of this sheet really quick. So we got the player info in there, and each sheet's a little bit different for each position. So wide receivers are obviously going to have like wide receiver cornerback matchups, the advantage, and tight ends too. Quarterbacks a little bit different and all that stuff. So, but for running backs, we got the player info, the matchup, the Vegas line, the pace that the offense plays at, the 2018 stats at the moment that will update to 2019 stats when it becomes available, but 2018 is all we got to work with right now. And then we got some PFF stats on there like elusive ratings, hands grade. Then we have the defense versus the running back position. So we got DVOA, offensive line, defensive line matchup, Draftkings points per game allowed, all that stuff on there. Everything's color coded, nice and neat. It's supposed to dumb it down to help you guys make lineups. It helps me make lineups too. And then we got the game info, the weather even, factors for the projections. Projections are all the way on the right. I'm going to do rankings and all that stuff. So if you guys are interested, the link is in the description below for that if you would like access to it. Anyway, let's dive into the running back position breakdown. So let's start up top with Zeke Elliott at 9,200. So he's the most expensive running back, and he hasn't even showed up for anything yet, so that could be a little bit of concern. But so first off, is he even going to play? I have no idea. I'd be lying if I said he will or not, but he does not have the same kind of leverage Le'Veon Bell had last year, so it would really not make sense for him to not show up. I'm hoping he does, and I just got a notification from Bleacher Report a couple minutes before I started this video that they offered him a contract that would make him the second highest paid running back in the league. I think he would not be smart to not accept that, but he might want to be the highest paid running back in the league, so he might not accept it. I don't know what he's thinking in his mind. Only he knows that, and his agent really, so no idea, but let's just pretend he is playing. Apparently, he's in pretty good shape. He shedded some weight, which is good because he always gets these fat jokes, which it really hasn't hampered him yet. So if he's going to lose some weight, I mean, he's probably going to be even better, and that's kind of scary to think about. So yeah, let's pretend he's playing. He's an awesome play versus the Giants, as we all know who Zeke is. He's a bell-cow running back who takes almost every snap and pounds the rock. He's got an amazing offensive line, arguably the best in the league. He led the league in rushing yards per game last season with 95, and we should see more touchdowns than he had last season as it was uncharacteristically low. As for the Giants, their defense isn't anything special as they were 20th DVOA versus the run last season, and they traded away Snacks Harrison, which obviously is going to downgrade their defensive line even more. Another big thing for Elliott was his involvement in the passing game once Amari Cooper arrived. Obviously, if you start giving a guy like Zeke passing work, he becomes an even more elite fantasy option. The other thing I like for running backs is when they're huge favorites, especially at home, and the Cowboys are large favorites in this game at, they're 7-point favorites and a 27 implied total, which is one of the highest on these slates. So I do think Zeke is a fantastic option as long as he is in the game and playing, obviously. Then right below him, we have Saquon Barkley at 9,000. So he's arguably the best running back in the league. I wouldn't fault anyone for saying that, and it's really not a hot take to say that anyway. I'm not that high on him this week, though, versus Dallas. It's a tough run defense, as they were 5th DVOA versus the position last season, and they only allowed 23 DraftKings points per game to the position. I mean, that might sound like a lot, but comparatively, it's not. And the thing with Barkley, though, is he very well may be the leading receiver on his team. It's really just him and Ingram at this point. I mean, Golden Tate's suspended, Sterling Shepard's there, but he's not anything special. And in last season, he had a game versus Dallas where he only had 28 rushing yards, which, that obviously sucks. But he also had 14 receptions for like 80-some yards. So he has arguably the safest floor of any running back in the league. So I do like that a lot if you want to play Saquon. But again, he is not my preferred spend-up option. So I don't mind going down to CMC, who is next at 8,800 versus the Los Angeles Rams. I almost said St. Louis. He's the last of the elite tier. Big CMC fan here. Love the skill set he offers us. He does it all in rushing and receiving, which gives him one of the highest floors in the league, like Saquon. He got over 7.5 targets a game last season, nearly 7 receptions per game, and 54 yards a game. And add that with his rushing ability, and you really can't go wrong with him making your spend-up option. The Rams struggled with pass-catching running backs last season and were 27th DVOA to the position as a whole. Now, there is concerns with the coaches saying they want to limit CMC's touches, but I see no reason that actually happens to a substantial degree. It might happen a little bit, but still, he's going to get the majority of the workload, one of the highest touch rates per game out of any running back. And he proved he can handle the load, and if the Panthers want to win games, he needs to be on the field. And another concern I've heard is that his pass game production will come down because Cam is only checking down because of his bum shoulder, which may be valid, but it did work, and I don't think they get away from it completely. Maybe he sees a couple less dump offs, but they're going to design him to get the ball in space. So definitely love Christian McCaffrey versus the Rams. And then the other guys, I'm kind of skipping a lot of these guys in this range from the 7K to the mid 6K range. I mean, they're good players, but obviously Melvin Gordon's probably not going to be playing. David Johnson, I just don't feel comfortable playing him yet. Le'Veon Bell, I'm going to wait and see how that goes. Joe Mixon, it's not a good matchup for Joe Mixon. Big underdogs there. His offensive line's not good. Cincinnati sucks. They're probably going to throw a lot. I mean, Joe Mixon obviously could hit value, but I'm not taking my chances with that. Nick Chubb's obviously really good, but Tennessee's a pretty tough defense. They're not really looking to target any Browns. I mean, they're going to score points, and I wouldn't be surprised if Nick Chubb had 80 rushing yards and a touchdown, but I think there's more upside in some other players that are a little bit cheaper. Damian Williams, I'm a believer in Damian Williams. I'm not the hugest Damian Williams fan, but I do think he's going to get the majority of the work, obviously. But Darwin Thompson's there waiting. I mean, he looked pretty good. So it could be a little bit more of a timeshare than I was anticipating earlier in the season, but... So I don't want to pay $6,300 for him versus Jacksonville. So that leaves us with Leonard Fournette in the same game, but going against Kansas City at $6,100. So Fournette is someone I have quite a bit of interest in, especially early on in the season when he's as healthy as he can be. He draws an amazing matchup versus Kansas City, who was dead last in DVOA versus the position last season and allowed over 30 points per game. This game is going to have points scored, and I think he will be a decent part of it. It's a decently close Vegas line, so I do like that because if the Chiefs obviously run away with the game, that would hurt Fournette's value. And yeah, I look for him to have more passing work in this game, passing work this season with the loss of TJ Yeldon. So I do think Leonard Fournette's a fine option at that price tag. And then right below him, we have Dalvin Cook, who is my favorite running back on the entire slate. Now, that's going to be a lot of people's opinions too, so maybe you want to fade him in GPPs, but I'm definitely playing him in cash games. I love Dalvin Cook. He's going to be the highest owned running back, most likely for good reason. And like I said, this is your cash game option. He draws an amazing matchup versus Atlanta, who is bad year after year versus pass-catching running backs. They were 28th DVOA versus pass-catching running backs last season, allowed 61 receiving yards per game, 30 points per game to the position, and 30th DVOA versus the run. So I don't know about you guys, but that's a lot of good things going for Dalvin Cook. The Vikings offense is moving to a run-heavy style, and I know Cook has health problems, but when healthy, he's a beast, and he's healthy right now, so I love Dalvin Cook heading into this game. And then we have Kerryon Johnson. This is a really good group of guys here with Dalvin Cook, Fournette, Kerryon Johnson, Chris Carson. I love this. I love the prices for these guys, and I love their spots. Let's talk about Kerryon Johnson first. I really like Kerryon Johnson heading into the year last year, and Garrett Blount ruined half of that, but he looked good when he played, then he got hurt. But he checks in at only 5,800 versus the Cardinals team, who got steamrolled on the ground last season. They were 29th DVOA versus running backs and gave up an insane 136 rushing yards per game and one and a fourth touchdowns on the ground. And they also allowed 31.5 points per game. So these are all pretty much near the league bottom. Theoretic is also gone, which is great for his pass game aspirations that we all have for him. The only downside is CJ Anderson, who may play a LeGarrette Blount role. I really hope he doesn't, but Matt Patricia seemed to love to give LeGarrette Blount the ball last season. And C.J. Anderson did get some extended run in preseason. Kerryon Johnson was out there in the second quarter, which is a little concerning. But I think Kerryon's the guy, so I do like Kerryon Johnson a lot. He's got lots of talent, so I do like him at that price tag and a great matchup. He's going to be really high owned. I think Dalvin Cook, Kerryon Johnson, Chris Carson, Leonard Fournette, and one of the high-end running backs are going to carry quite a bit of ownership heading into the weekend. And then let's talk about Chris Carson, who's right below Kerryon at 5,700. Like I said, there's a lot of good running backs in this price range, and we continue with Chris Carson, who's gaining a ton of hype right now. He's even sneaking into the third round and season-long drafts, which I think is a little high, but nonetheless, this is DFS, and he's too cheap in an awesome spot versus Cincinnati. Seattle loves pounding the rock, and Carson is the guy. They run the ball more than pretty much every single team in the league. They're 9-point favorites at home versus Cincy, who can't stop the run. 31 points per game given up and 26 DVOA versus the position. He's also expected to see a lot more pass game work. I know that was a recent headliner that got a lot of people hyped up. So, love Chris Carson. Nothing not to like in this matchup. I expect a big game on the ground from him. And then if we look at Austin Eckler, 5,500, I would assume Melvin Gordon is not playing at this point. So if obviously he doesn't, Eckler is going to be in play. The Colts were 25th DVOA to pass catching running backs last season, and that's what Eckler really does best. So I think he would be in play. Not my favorite play in the world, but don't hate it. And then Mark Ingram, he's drawing a really good matchup versus Miami. Wouldn't mind if you want to use him at 5,100. Tevin Coleman at 5K. He's going to be the lead back for a Kyle Shanahan-led run scheme, which he's obviously familiar with in Atlanta. And it should be a close, high-scoring game here. And at only 5K, I'm willing to take a shot. And then, obviously, if Zeke doesn't play, Pollard becomes one of the best values on the board. And he's looked especially well. He's looked well, especially in preseason. So I think that's going to be it for the running back, guys. I really don't want to dumpster dive week 1 of the season. I want to get some sure things. Maybe Jordan Howard and Miles Sanders would be decent punt options. Maybe even Justin Jackson if Melvin Gordon's out. But kind of want some more sure things at the running back position week 1. But anyway, that's my opinions on all the running backs. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Remember to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell. Don't miss any of the new videos. And if you guys would like access to my entire NFL sheet, my Slack chat, every single thing, links in the description below for my Patreon. And I'll see you guys in the wide receiver video.